We were teased seeing the ultimate angsty life form known as Shadow the Hedgehog, and now it's time to see the final results. For anyone wanting to know my knowledge on Sonic or my thoughts on the first two movies, here's the video here if you want to check it out. Time for spoiler talk will be here. Enjoy the video. Shadow awakens from his 50-year sleep, which eerily reminded me of Mewtwo from the first Pokemon movie. I don't know if that's just me. I don't know why, I just kind of thought that in my head, and I kind of imagine at some point I'm going to hear a narration from Shadow going, "Who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here?" Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. Is that just me? As he wreaks havoc in Japan, and Team Sonic are out to stop him. But he beats them all like they're nothing. So with the assistance of Robotnik, yep, he's returned, they try to track him down and the person who released Shadow in the first place. Meanwhile, Shadow himself yearns for justice for what was taken from him, and gains assistance from an old friend. They unite as Team Sonic tries to stop the plan that endangers the world. For the action, I loved it. Tons of speedy action scenes, cause you know, gotta go fast! We get Sonic chasing Shadow on a motorcycle around Japan. That was pretty fun. I liked their second fight, the last third. As short as it was, I really enjoyed it. It reminded me eerily kind of similar to Goku vs Vegeta during the Buu saga a little bit. I don't know why I'm getting all these references to anime from. I don't know why, it's just popped in my head for some reason. But seriously, that was freaking sweet. Can we get more of that, please? Like, I would love just a bit more of that scene, because that was just so awesome. You got them going into space, destroying all the robots. Yeah, I was hyped. Especially when they play Live and Learn. I may not know much about Sonic, but I do know that's a big thing. Like, Live and Learn was a big hype thing. I'll say if you are a big fan of Sonic, you will enjoy that moment. That is pretty cool. I like what they did with comparing Sonic and Shadow, because you can see that they both landed on Earth before, they both lost something, but they both changed in different ways. And depending on that change, it affected them in different ways. Like for Shadow, it turned him cold, closed off, and wanting only revenge. But for Sonic, he wanted to protect, never lose hope, and never lose his way. I'll get into that more later on in the spoiler section. Like, some of the humor is still a bit hit or miss for me. Like, Jim Carrey still gets a laugh out of me, no problem. Those are like the only moments I really kind of laughed, or at least chuckled. The dance scene with the lasers, I didn't really care for it, to be honest. Some people loved it, which was totally fine. If you found it funny, that's totally cool. But, I don't know, it just didn't really click with me. So I was just sitting there going, what the fuck am I watching right now? Like, what is this? Now, as I mentioned in the older video, I know bits of Shadow's story, but not a whole lot. So, in terms of accuracy, I couldn't tell you. So, bear that in mind. But I know bits and bobs from here and there. But the flashback of Shadow and Maria, I can say it was cute kind of seeing her kind of soften up Shadow's angst, you know. They share fond moments together, him processing his place in this blue marble and how he's treated, like, on Earth, because he feels like such an outsider. And Maria's just trying to keep him optimistic and, you know, keep his light, if that makes any sense. Especially with them two looking up at the stars, I thought that was really nice. I just wish we could have got more out of them, like just a bit more dialogue exchange, just to really, you know, get it going. Now, with Keanu Reeves as Shadow, he was great. I've seen some stuff of him talking about the backstory of Shadow the Hedgehog, and I was honestly surprised he did his research on the character. Heck, I'm surprised he was even allowed to, because I've been seeing a lot more in movies recently, like, if they're adapting something, they don't get their actors to research their characters, especially like with games, which is very, very odd, because why would you not want your actors to research their characters? Like, not even just like a rough understanding of their characters, because beforehand I was a bit hesitant if it was Keanu, because I thought they were going to make him just play as himself as a hedgehog, but no, he's playing as though he is Shadow, so I gotta give him props. Oh, and also, Maddie's sister Rachel, who's played by Natasha Rothwell, is only a brief cameo. Thank God. Nothing against the actress, it's just Rachel's character is not remotely funny, and it just drains the screen time for the actual characters we want to see. Like, the moment she popped up, I was genuinely dreading we were going to have to sit through like a 10 to 15 minutes of like her and this other character, you know, infiltrating a HQ, you know, disguised, you know, going through the place trying to look for certain things. I was dreading that, but it was only for a brief cameo, so, oh, thank you. Massively short compared to the second movie. So here, I'm going to go into more spoiler territory, so here's the timer. You've been warned. Now, I love Jim Carrey. He is a ton of fun. He's still funny as Robotnik, but is also Papa Robotnik. I'm just going to call him that because I can't remember his name, and I'm just going to call him that. There is a thing called too much. Like, I don't mind him playing both parts, but I feel like he's just playing the same character twice. Like, I get the, oh, it's his Pop-Pop, they're so alike, it's like if an actor was playing the same character in the same movies, I think it would have been a lot more interesting if he played Papa Botnik more ominous, reserved, and almost inhuman, to totally contrast from the wacky, sporadic mind of Robotnik. Kinda similar to when Doofenshmirtz met his eviler counterpart in a way. Not exactly, but kind of same feel if you get my drift. Like maybe have Papa Botnik tolerate his immaturity and give him parental praise, all just for the sake of his plan to, you know, progress further on. Because it doesn't really feel like he's playing two characters, but rather just an older version of his current Robotnik, if that makes any sense. Though some may argue he was only humouring Robotnik's antics, if it meant his plans would continue, and then he just double crosses them once the plan's, you know, going to fruition, he shows his true colours then. But, depends on what you think. But I will say, his overall plan, basically after what happened with Maria, Papa Robotnik basically said, you took everything from me? Now I've got nothing to lose to end us all. Quite dark, I'll admit. I'm aware that Maria gets shot in the games. I've seen some clips and stuff, especially with the upcoming of the movie. But here, the gunfire missed her and caused an explosion. Which, I'm kinda... Oh, Jesus. I'm gonna sound really messed up if I say this. I'm disappointed they didn't have Maria be shot. Hear me out, please. Hear me the fuck out, please. Let me explain. I can maybe understand due to sensibilities it couldn't show a child be shot. I'm not saying empty a whole magazine on her, but have it in slow motion where the soldier shoves young Walters away. You see the finger just pull the trigger, go to the nozzle where the bullet fires. And then Maria slowly turns, and then you get a reaction shot from Shadow. Like, you don't see it hit her, but you get the implication. You get what I mean? I feel like that could be a subtle approach to that concept. But that's just me. Like, what it did was fine, but I feel like you can implement the actual accuracy of it if you just did it in a very delicate, subtle way. Like, not bleak and brutal, but just enough to go, something happened here. I think you can put the two and two together if you just thought a little bit. I like that we actually got to see Sonic a bit more vulnerable. Like when later on in the movie where Tom gets outcommissioned by Shadow, I love seeing Sonic just having that kind of hate. He starts to feel almost similar to Shadow, how he wanted revenge, you know, for what he did. When he meets Shadow again, it was cool seeing the two go in super mode and just going at it. To the point, they're on the moon. I mean, what do you say to that? That is just cool, I'm not gonna deny that. Like, even when the two just sit down and talk about how they both responded to loss and how it affected them, especially with how it shouldn't let that define you or change who you are. But like, there's this one great shot where the two are just sitting on the moon, they stare off at Earth, and you see the sun rise up. And I thought that was such a great moment, especially the soundtrack that was playing at the time. It was a nice little visual, and I wish we could have seen a bit more of this. Like, I would happily take a bit more of this stuff. For me, in terms of highlights of the movie, Sonic and Shadow sharing some screen time together, and Shadow's moments lamenting from the past. Those are my, like, ultimate favorite points of the movie. Okay, here are some negatives, and I might get some shit for this, but hey, I'm just being honest, and again, I am not the biggest fan of Sonic, so I'm probably missing a few details, or I'm just maybe not clicking with it, so take that with a big bag of salt. The movie feels kind of tonally inconsistent at times. At points, we're given a serious or emotional moment, but the movie almost feels afraid to let that moment settle. Like, Team Sonic are being told Shadow's backstory, and it's playing off rather serious. You know, Shadow's being put back in a cage and locked away for 50 years after the accident that happened before. And before we can let that sink in, we get an abrupt, short, cheap laugh, you know, with, like, all the dancing mascots and stuff, and I'm just sitting there going, okay. But then seconds later, we got Robotnik's drones, you know, ambushing Team Sonic. What I feel like would have worked better is after Team Sonic's been told about Shadow's backstory, we have them soak it in for a moment. They maybe look at each other, and then Sonic may look at Commander Walters, and then subtly as that's going on, the drones just very subtly drop down in front of the window and just start to home in the attack. Unless you can argue that maybe, I don't know, Papa Robotnik somehow caused the mascots to start dancing as a distraction, as then the drones come down for the real attack. But I doubt that was the plan, because I think they were showing us like the little mustache logo and everything of something happening, I don't know. Or in another scene, after the bad guys acquired a second key from Gun HQ, beforehand, Tom had managed to get the key back in disguise as Commander Walters. But Shadow shows up thinking it's actually Commander Walters, who was around with Shadow back 50 years ago. He attacks him. Sonic shows up, we see the parallel between Shadow back then with Maria, and Sonic with Tom. Which, I'll admit, that was a good choice, I like that scene as well. Sonic, fueled with rage and vengeance, wants to use the Master Emerald to go super, but only Knuckles knows where it is. Building up tension, conflict is surging from Sonic and Knuckles. They're both like lightening up and stuff, they're ready to like tackle each other. How are they gonna deal with this? Knuckles tells him where it is, and it turns out the Emerald was at the police station, being used as a hockey puck, for a cheap laugh. This felt like such a letdown. What if instead Knuckles says, "I won't tell you where it is, Sonic." And Sonic says, "I don't need you to. I already know where it is. I followed you when you hit it, just in case you forgot where it was." His quills light up as he dashes off. Knuckles follows suit to stop him. The two exchange blows. Knuckles tries to hold him down and reason with Sonic to clear his mind and not be fueled by hate. But here, we then get to see a glimpse of Sonic's true kind of speed and potential. He doesn't hold back. A blink and a flash. Knuckles is knocked to the ground and Sonic is looking down at his friend in regret and saying, "I'm sorry, Knuckles, but I have to do this." He turns super and flies off to the space station. Here we would see the change of Sonic's usual behavior, the pattern of him becoming just like Shadow. I feel like that would have been much more effective in going with the overall theme that the tone in movie sometimes goes for. Especially with the whole message of don't let things change who you are when things go bad, stick to who you are, don't let the bad things taint what really made you special and stuff like that. You know, that kind of feeling. You know, don't let the bad things win. My last example is for the final fight with Papa Robotnik against Robotnik. You'd think with two mad scientists with the ability to create anything of machinery, it would be an entertaining scene. Well, for some it was quite funny and hilarious, and that's fine, that's totally understandable. For me, it just feels a bit too goofy. Now, I know the Sonic series has a lot of wacky, eccentric characters, all things wild and stuff. I totally get that, don't get me wrong. But I wish it was a bit more action-packed than goofy. That's the best way I can describe it. Especially when the scene is clashing with Sonic and Shadow destroying all the robots and trying to stop the machine. We got an action-packed scene with Live and Learn playing, they're all destroying robots and stuff, and then we go back to Robotnik and Papa Robotnik, and it's going kind of goofily and more comedic. It's very kind of back and forth, like, wait, what, are you going for action or comedy here? Guys, this is your magnum, like, finale here, like, come on. Granted, I may not be the audience for this movie. Just, that may be the obvious thing. But I feel like everyone would have been more entertained with an actual serious fight scene with two geniuses with different pieces of technology at their literal fingertips. Again, I'm sure some people really liked what they got here, but I just had an alternative take. Like seriously, when you're going from destroying machines as a Super Saiyan kind of thing, and you go back to the Robotniks and one's spanking the other, it's like, what the fuck is going on right now? I want to enjoy this, but not in a hilarity way. I want to like go, yo, this is cool, but it's like, what is this? You know what I mean? I was like, what? But I'll admit one thing. The way Papa Botnik died, that was kind of funny. I can't deny that. Like, when he got zapped and he just got disintegrated like a bug on a bug zapper, that got a little chuckle out of me. I can't deny that. It was just a... I can't deny that. That was a little funny to me. So, post-credit scene. Metal Sonic and Amy. I didn't expect the two of them. I didn't even expect Amy to show up. I was like, are they actually going to use Amy at some point? But hey, because with Metal Sonic, I thought it was just going to be him approaching the city, kind of looking for Sonic, and it cuts. And then we see the next credit scene is Amy that shows up looking for Sonic or something. But no, the two of them are in the same one. I was like, okay. As for Amy, well, there's not much to say about Amy because she's not really said anything yet because they probably haven't got an actress for her yet. But she looks alright from what we see so far. Like, we've seen bits of her hammer, her actual head. She looks alright. I just hope they actually let her be Amy and not just a generic, like, girl boss character like Princess Peach in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Like, just let Amy be Amy, but again, that may depend on the certain iterations of like the games and TV shows, so I don't know, so I couldn't really argue, so feel free to tell me which Amy would you prefer her to be, like similar to the one from Boom, Heroes, Adventure. Let me know, because I have no fucking clue. Overall, I had fun with the movie, but I had my issues with it. It's not the worst, nor is it the best in my opinion either. If the whole movie was like the first third of the film, I would have put this up to number 1 in the trilogy. But I feel like it doesn't top the second movie for me personally. But it's definitely above the first one, obviously. Obviously, like I said before, this movie is more goofier at points than the previous two. I know these movies are more geared towards a younger audience, so my points may be pointless to critiquing so much. I'm not trying to be anti-fun or anything, it's just, I just think with this movie involving Shadow and, Papa Robotnik, with the whole loss of Maria and how quite, not intense but serious it was, I just kind of wanted a bit more, not darker, but more tension, as it were. I mean, yeah, you can tackle certain, darker story beats and also be a little goofy, but it depends on how you do it and what way you do it. You can't just expect the two to just blend. You need to make it work. Yeah, the second movie had its issues, but for whatever reason, I just found more in this one than I did the second one, which is a shame because it has one of my favorite characters in the franchise. But then again, Shadow wasn't the problem. Shadow was great. I like what they did with him. But I think, overall, if you know what you're going in for, you'll have a great time. There's plenty of jokes, plenty of Easter eggs, a lot of fun moments with the characters, and a lot of funny humor from Jim Carrey as well, playing double the action, so I'm certain you'll have a good time. It just maybe wasn't working with me, but it probably will work for you. There's plenty of fun moments, some good fight scenes, and some overall good laughs in there too. Again, I feel like I might be in the minority in this take, but that's just my takes. You don't have to agree with me. If you want to say I'm wrong and you enjoyed the movie, that's totally fine. You're allowed to like it. You're allowed to have fun and enjoy it. That's totally okay. Because I've seen some of my friends say they enjoyed it and they had their own kind of issues. What are your thoughts on Sonic 3? Did you love it or did you hate it? Or am I just maybe in the wrong zone, as it were? Well, this has been Drew. Those are my views, and I bid you adieu.